The BBC News and Sport now on BBC One with Peter Sissons and Rob Bonnet.
20 people have died in a huge explosion in the Netherlands. Scores more were injured as a blast destroyed a fireworks store. Getting a grip on the Sierra Leone crisis, Britain reinforces its troops. And Wasps do it again in a pulsating final at Twickenham. Good evening. A huge explosion has destroyed a fireworks warehouse in the Netherlands, inflicting damage and heavy casualties throughout the neighbouring area. At least 20 people are reported dead and around 200 hurt, many of them badly. It happened at Enschede, 85 miles east of Amsterdam, near the German border.
First, hundreds of white-hot fireworks came bursting out of the warehouse. Then panic-stricken crowds headed for cover. All the time the drama and devastation captured on video by an amateur cameraman, until all of a sudden the centre of Enschede was rocked by an almighty explosion.
Daar is hem.
Then, moments later, a second, more powerful blast. It was as though a bomb had gone off. Some of the emergency services already at the scene dealing with the blaze caught the full impact of the blast. Many of the victims would have been killed instantly, both civilians and firefighters. Distraught locals comforted each other in the immediate aftermath. Ambulances ferried the injured to hospital, while teams of firefighters were drafted in not only from neighbouring cities, but also from Germany. Thick clouds of acrid black smoke could be seen for miles. In the words of the city's mayor, Enschede was dealing with a calamity. Almost every business and home in one of the streets torn apart by the multiple explosions. As emergency workers surveyed the burning rubble in search of bodies, one British eyewitness spoke of the sheer terror of what happened.
The house was absolutely shaking from the explosion. There was a mass panic in the streets, fireworks just landing where they will. And after that, it was unbelievable. It was something like November the 5th and Hiroshima going off at the same time.
Survivors blackened by the blast were treated at the roadside. But amid the confusion and chaos, it soon became clear that the death toll was high. People killed not only by the explosions, but also by the intense fires that spread rapidly, including to an adjacent Grolsch beer factory. Whatever the cause of the initial blaze, somehow the tons of fireworks in the warehouse were ignited, setting off a terrible and tragic chain of events. Bewildered residents have already started asking, how on earth could the authorities have allowed such a store of explosives right in the heart of Enschede, much of which tonight lays in ruins? John McIntyre, BBC News.
And our Europe correspondent Angus Roxburgh is in Enschede now. Angus, what's the latest there tonight? What's the extent of this damage?
Well, as far as the death toll is concerned, it remains at 20 confirmed dead so far, with at least 175 injured. They've been taken to local hospitals and to hospitals in neighbouring towns. But of course, work is still going on tonight. It will go on through the night, sifting through the rubble of the huge swathe of buildings and houses that was destroyed here to see if there are any survivors still buried there.
Angus, there was some suggestion earlier that this was arson. Has there been any report at all about the cause of the explosion?
No, there was this suggestion. It's been suggested that there have been other fires in Enschede over the past few days, and therefore the idea of arson was put forward. This hasn't been confirmed and can't be confirmed at the moment. People are asking, though, why so many fireworks, 100 tons of fireworks, were stored in this warehouse right in the centre of a heavily populated area. Those are all questions that will have to be answered over the next few days. For the moment, the town is just in deep shock.
Angus Roxburgh, thank you. In Sierra Leone, pro-government forces are continuing their advance east from the capital, Freetown. They've retaken from the rebels the town of Masiaka, some 50 miles from the capital. Due to arrive shortly off the coast of Sierra Leone are 600 Royal Marines on board the helicopter carrier HMS Ocean. They could come ashore to support other British troops and United Nations peacekeepers.
After the fighting, the celebration. This is Masiaka, a vital road junction to the east of the capital. It had been held by the rebels. until today. The pro-government forces are a mixture of militias, private armies and the Sierra Leonean army. Usually disparate and disorganized, they have found a new unity, a new determination to repel the rebel advance. The commander who led the attack says this morning's battle was over very quickly.
By 9:30, we were able to enter this town with some strong resistance. But with the grace of God, we were able to repel the guys out of the place.
Those captured as the rebels retreated can expect little mercy. Stripped and beaten, these two fighters are pleading for their lives. They were led away, their fate is unknown. For others, there is certainty. The rebel dead lie unburied and unmourned by those who blame them for tearing this country apart. The fighting is not over, but the government troops appear to be gaining the upper hand. It's a remarkable turnaround after a week that seen British officers taking a central role in planning and coordinating the notoriously shambolic Sierra Leonean forces. There are now more than 1,000 British troops in this country. Their stated mission is still to hold and secure key areas, including the international airport. But the parachute regiment is trained for combat, and there is some frustration.
Obviously the blokes would like to push forward and start seeing where the enemy are and taking them on, but we can't do that unless we're given permission, obviously.
There's no doubt that the people here feel safer now, and that's largely thanks to the arrival of so many British troops. Still, no one here is pretending that this country's agony is over yet. The rebels remain undefeated, and they are a dangerous and potent military force. Jeremy Cook, BBC News, Freetown.
Here, the Ministry of Defence has said it won't reopen its investigation into the cause of an RAF Chinook helicopter crash in the west of Scotland in 1994, despite new suggestions that mechanical problems might have been to blame. An MOD inquiry concluded that the accident in which 29 people were killed was caused by the negligence of the two pilots, but a fresh report has cast doubt on the findings. Friends and relatives of Ricky Reel, the Asian student whose body was found in the Thames 3 years ago, have been picketing Scotland Yard to demand a new inquiry into his death. An inquest into his death recorded an open verdict, but his family maintain that he was murdered. Government supporters in Zimbabwe have prevented an opposition rally in the capital Harare by chasing away demonstrators with clubs and iron bars. It comes a day after President Mugabe called for an end to political violence in the country. The crisis in Zimbabwe began in February when so-called war veterans began to occupy white-owned farms. From Harare, Martin Dawes reports.
It was supposed to have been a mass rally to draw attention to political violence. It didn't happen. The police seemed unconcerned about those who were intent on disruption.
And with a group of ex-combatants and ZANU-PF thugs who came in and disrupted the people who were coming in. They attacked a number of them.
A day after President Mugabe condemned violence and established a commission on land redistribution, there's reports of another occupation at a white-owned farm. The opposition blames the government for orchestrating violence.
Well, first and foremost, it is a demonstration of lack of control by Mugabe and his government over the war veterans. That's very obvious. Right. Secondly, the police are helpless because he compromised the role of the police in the whole exercise. Now the chickens are coming home to roast.
And there's more bad news for the white community of British descent, all 86,000 of them. A government-owned newspaper says those who haven't renounced British citizenship are no longer Zimbabwean. Renunciation is difficult to prove. The opposition is calling on President Mugabe to maintain the rule of law and is contemplating some kind of mass protests in response to the violence and continuing intimidation. It will be a risky strategy. Martin Dawes, BBC News, Harare.
The BBC has appointed a new political editor. The former editor of The Independent, Andrew Marr, will take over from Robin Oakley, who will retire when Parliament breaks for the summer recess. Mr. Marr said he couldn't imagine a more exciting and challenging job. Now, with news of today's big Rugby Union Cup final and the rest of the day's sport, here's Rob Bonnet.
Thanks, Peter. Wasps have retained the Tetley's Bitter Cup, beating Northampton in an exciting final at Twickenham by 31 points to 23. The lead changed hands 9 times, but Wasps' 4 tries to Northampton's 1 underline the merit of their win.
The biggest domestic cup day of the season, and penalties were exchanged before Wasps started to impose their slight technical superiority. Forward pressure created an opening, and fullback Josh Lucy was unstoppable. Northampton were landing their penalties, but it was Wasps making the chances. Martin Wood popped the ball up for the thundering Samoan international Trevor Leota, who crunched, twisted and reached over for a try. Wasps came out after half-time with a 7-point lead, but Northampton are used to coming back from behind. And this time their pack, Budge Pountney with the ball in hand, pushed over and reclaimed the lead. Now Wasps had to find something extra, and they did just that. More good forward work, and then brilliant skill and a perfect pass from captain Lawrence Delalio to Kenny Logan. Wasps flirted with danger again, but then centre Mark Denny romped over for a 4th Wasps try to seal the match and, to the jubilation of the London Wasps fans, secure a 2nd consecutive cup victory. Adam Minot, BBC News.
Football now, and Barnsley's prospects of Premiership football next season are looking healthier. They beat Birmingham City 4-0 in the first leg of their playoff semi-final today at St Andrews. After Neil Shipley's opener, it was substitute Bruce Dyer who did most of the damage with 2 second-half goals. Barnsley added a 4th just 6 minutes from the end, courtesy of Craig Hignett, leaving Birmingham what looks like an impossible task for Thursday's second leg at Oakwell. In the Scottish Premier League, 2 Celtic players were dismissed during their side's goalless draw with St Johnstone, including Lubomir Moravcik after an incident in the players' tunnel at half-time. Dundee United against Motherwell and Rangers against Hearts are on Sports Scene in Scotland after this programme, so if you don't want to know the scores, look away now. The Durham fast bowler Steve Harmison has been included in the England cricket squad for next week's first test against Zimbabwe. Harmison, who was in action for his county side today, was the surprise name in the party of 13 and one of 2 uncapped players. Lancashire's Chris Schofield could also make his debut at Lord's, while there are recalls for Warwickshire's Nick Knight and Ed Giddins. Mark Ramprakash will open the batting alongside former captain Mike Atherton. The Irishman Pádraig Harrington has extended his lead to 5 shots at the B&H International Open with a 3rd round score of 64. That's 8 under par. It smashed the record for the redesigned Belfry course and left him 12 under for the tournament.
A day of low scoring, rising temperatures, but for Pádraig Harrington only golfing heights, as a testing Belfry course was finally tamed in emphatic style. Only Philip Price could withstand the early pace, the Welshman proving his competitive mettle as the 2 players traded birdie for birdie. But even he was soon left trailing in his partner's wake, a remarkable run of 5 birdies in just 6 holes guiding Harrington to an imposing lead. Still within striking distance, though, is Jose Maria Olazabal, a round of 66, leaving the Spaniard firmly in contention for the final day. The anticipated charge from Colin Montgomery never really materialised, a frustrating 73 surely accounting for his title ambitions. But it would seem a very different story for Harrington, a similar display tomorrow, and the only battle could be for 2nd place. Andy Swiss, BBC News.
And that's your Saturday night sport. Peter.
And the main news tonight, 20 people have died in a huge explosion at a fireworks warehouse in the Netherlands. There's news on the hour, every hour, throughout the weekend on our digital channel, News 24. But for now, from Rob and me, good night.
Secretary of State for Social Security Alistair Darling goes on the record to talk about the government's plans for pensions tomorrow here on BBC One, starting at midday.
Good evening to you. It's been another warm day for a large part of the United Kingdom. These are our figures. London at 25, but many other cities had temperatures above 20 degrees. Had a few showers around. They were very isolated, but one or two turned out to be quite heavy. Redhill and also Epsom catching quite a hefty downpour of rain, one of those showers. 20 millimetres, or about an inch of rain falling in the space of an hour. But they've largely died away. There is some thicker cloud trying to get in across parts of Ireland and moving into the western side of Scotland through the night. But we've already got some mist forming. That'll continue to form, even a few fog patches developing, I think, through the night as that patchy cloud tries to get in from the west. But it's a very slow progress and quite a range in temperatures. Double figures where we keep that cloud. If the skies remain clear, for instance, in parts of Scotland, temperatures down to around 3 degrees. Well, this is the change. Hopefully, we're going to see this weather front drift in a little bit closer, but it's not really going to arrive, I think, until early next week. Before it arrives, I think we'll probably see some fine, dry weather still with us for a large part of the United Kingdom. Very misty and murky to start the day tomorrow, but it will brighten up, and then we'll start to see some showery outbreaks of rain, trying to get into Northern Ireland and western parts of Scotland. Maybe the odd shower in the hills of northeast England, but another warm day just about everywhere, with top temperatures up at around 25 or 26 Celsius. Have a good evening.
Be the first to know the score. BBC Online gives you instant news with Goal Flash at bbc.co.uk/football.
From the makers of Loyalists and Provos.
I shot him 4 times through the chest. Just put as many rounds into the enemy as you can.
The basic problem about terrorism is it's very difficult to snuff out. I think there's always a risk in deploying the SAS.
The real war in Northern Ireland was the intelligence war.
Brits, out Wednesday at 9:30 on BBC 2.
The grim portrayal of the Bosnian War through the eyes of British soldiers caught in the middle now on BBC 1. Strong language and violence in the concluding part of the award-winning drama.